What's happening, Fight Week Show fans, Fight Week Show people? What is going on? We have Jess, Jess Mouneimne in the house. How are you doing, sis? You good?
I'm so good. Thanks for having me back. I'm excited.
Oh my God! I mean, what a wild year you've had. What a wild ride, and what you have coming in the next couple of months. Incredible. Something that we've all been waiting for. You in particular, you've been waiting for it. We've been waiting for it. You know, all your fans has been waiting for it. Um, it's big news that you have this official title fight coming up in March. Obviously, you got put off before because of an injury to your opponent, but it's coming alive now. It's bubbling. You're in camp. How are you feeling about the whole thing, the whole build up, all of
Yeah,
that stuff?
I'm feeling so good. So it was actually the fight in December was pulled because of an injury that I sustained, not that
All right,
she
that you
sustained.
sister.
I,
Right,
yeah, I had a broken rib in December, so I had to pull out, and I
gotcha.
hate that. There's nothing I hate more than pulling out because of an injury. But
Mm-hmm.
these things happen, especially when you're training really hard. So yeah, really grateful that this camp has gone off without any injuries, and that we're able to make this fight happen on the 2nd of March, because it can be frustrating for. I feel sorry, like I don't know Alice personally, but obviously I know what it's like to want to fight and to be preparing for that and then have it not happen. And I know that after we were meant to fight in December,
Mm.
she booked a fight in the UK, and her opponent didn't make weight, and so that fight didn't happen either. So
Oh
she's
my
kind of been
God.
trying to make a fight happen, really long, and so have I. So I'm really excited that we can finally do this.
I mean, the fight itself, on especially on the card it was going to be on, because that card was crazy, and but also this card that they got coming up that they got you on is also a crazy card. Um, but in terms of for you and how you've been preparing for this fight, is it something? Have you done something different in this camp than you did in the previous camp leading to the fight that you were supposed to have in December?
Um, Not really. We've had a couple of shifts from a team perspective. Our
Right.
strength and conditioning coach left, so we've brought a lot more of that kind of into our skills coaching team.
Yeah.
So a lot of the guys are training together, doing the same, strength and conditioning we were always doing, but now together as a team. Whereas before we were kind of working one on one, each fighter separately with a strength and conditioning coach, and that's been really great. So there's just a really good team dynamic and energy, and it's a very supportive, exciting place to train in at the moment. So that's been quite great to kind of have everyone in camp training for a different goal, but working together. So there's definitely been more of a team effort this time around. Fighting can be quite a lonely
Yeah.
sport, because you fight alone, and sometimes you have to train alone and do a lot of the hard work alone.
Mhm.
So it's really cool to every now and again be able to pull together as a team. So it's been cool.
Fantastic, fantastic. I mean, we put our questions as well to some of our viewers, and some of them is come up with some questions for you. So we're gonna run them by you, piece
All
by
right.
piece. Okay. So one of our viewers here, big up to Carl Rossi, he asked, would you be a very active champion or fight like a few times a year? What type of champion are you gonna be when
Uh,
you win the strap? Not if, when.
when I win the strap, I'd like to be, one thing I said to you was that I'm not motivated by the belt. I'm not motivated by that shiny object.
Mm,
It's just another fight for me. So nothing's going to change for me with or without a belt. I'm the same fighter. I want to be as active as I can, as long as I can. Our division in EFC is not very deep,
yeah.
so it is difficult to get more than 2 or 3 fights a year.
Hmm.
But I'll be satisfied with that. So if I can fight 2 or 3 times this year, that'll make me very happy. So I don't plan on sitting out for long after this fight in March. I'd like to get back into it. um I'm, as you know, I'm Muslim, so I observe Ramadan. So
Yeah.
my big thing was getting a fight in before the fast, and then between the end of March and the end of April, my focus is going to be Ramadan.
Yeah.
And then I'll get back into training after that, and look to fight sort of towards June, July again, and then hopefully in December again.
Yeah, man, that'd be incredible. I mean, you just the year that you just mapped out, it just seems perfect from your first fight in March, going into Ramadan, like you said, and transitioning into June and December. So you got good spaces there to build up for camp and make fights. So that sounds absolutely wonderful.
And so on the same card as myself and Alice for the title is the number one contender spot already. So that's between Juliet Ukic, she's Nigerian, I think, and then Crystal van Beek. So that's already the number one contender spot that's being decided. So my next fight is there.
It's gonna be the winner of one of them too. It's incredible, isn't it? Because obviously from when they fight, you get to know the number one contender going into your fight. And how does that actually affect? Does it motivate you more in a situation like that where you know a result going into the fight that might affect your fight later on down the line? Does that give you extra motivation? Does that change the mindset?
I think that the thing that motivates me is just knowing that there's another fight, coming. Like I said, because the division is still quite shallow, there's been a lot of I felt quite anxious not knowing where my next fight is going to come from. The male divisions have a much deeper pool of guys, so you're never short of an opponent. It's more about wanting to choose the right opponent. Whereas with the ladies, you kind of just take what you can get because the pool is so small. So I think knowing that there's a plan and a trajectory, after this fight, there's already one lined up. That's exciting for me.
Fantastic. We have here, they said, what qualities make for a great MMA champion, and what are some of the qualities that maybe you should avoid in that role as well? If you don't mind, explaining to our audience.
That's interesting, and I think you can say what you want at our level, but obviously once you get to UFC championship level, there's a different kind of money and fame, that comes with that title, and so perhaps not changing is more difficult. But like I said, for me, I'm not attaching too much worth to the belt. I don't necessarily think my life is going to change in a dramatic way, once I win in March. So I'm going to be the same. I see myself as a pretty humble, hardworking girl who just wants to fight and loves fighting, and that's gonna stay for me how it is. In terms of how I would like to see champions in general conduct themselves, I think it's different for every person. Every fighter brings their own personality to their brand in order to build some kind of brand. Some people are bad boys, some are humble and authentic the entire time. And I think as long as you're signing fights and making deals and fighting your heart out, you can be whoever you want to be. What I love about fighting is that it's very difficult to hide and be anything besides who you truly are. So if you're, excuse my language, but if you're an asshole, you're going to see it, because it's hard to hide that kind of stuff in the fight space. If you're a humble, true martial artist, that's going to shine through. I think the only thing that I'd like to see more champs not do is sit out and, shy away from hard fights because they're nervous about losing, their status and losing the belt. So I think sometimes once you've been at the top for so long, you can become a little nervous about, accepting the hard fights because you're concerned about what happens next. I think as long as champions stay hungry, I think they remain pretty good champions.
Fantastic. I mean, you broke it down really, really well there, and I could personally attest, because I follow you. I don't stalk you, but I follow you all the time, and I could say I've got a pretty good handle on what your personality is like, how humble you are, how you relate with everybody in your gym, and the advice that you give out to people on a regular basis, even health wise, how to get people's mindset right. You give that regularly on your Instagram story and your Instagram page. So I got a good handle on that. And people, if you're not following Jess, I don't know what you're doing with your social media pages. Go and follow Jess, Jess Mouneimne on Instagram. Go and follow her, man. You won't regret it. Go and check her out.
Thank you.
going into something like this, because as you said, it's not something that's massively gonna change your life. We know, the sort of business entities that you have. You have one the gym going with your husband, like almost like a family business right there, and you got some other endeavors going as well. But coupling all of that, having to work on all of that, and still have, time for to prepare for a fight that this is something that you've been after for such a long time. To now couple all of those together, how do you get the nerves and put them to one side just to concentrate on something like this, on an important fight like this?
Yeah, it's tough. It's always tough. I think when fighting isn't your core business, when you're always doing another job with fighting, which most people, at our level are. So either you have a day job where you're working at a desk and then you come and train in the evenings, or you find yourself in an active gym type environment, but you still have to go and train and find time to train. It's always difficult to balance that. I struggle with balancing the gym with family life, with my kids, as well as finding time to train. And so our life is very full and very busy right now. There's no time for extra things. So, one of the ladies that works in the gym invited me out for dinner after tonight's ground and pound session. And I'm like, we're going to finish at 8:30. You want me to go out and eat with you and then be at the gym at 5:45 tomorrow morning? Sorry. There's no time for social life. My son said, Mom, when are we going to the skate park? I'm like, baby, maybe in 4 weeks. You know what I mean? So right now it's jam packed. It's, waking up at 4:45 every single morning, and we're going to bed at like 9 o'clock every night so we can do the whole thing again. And it's a family affair. So I'm dragging my kids with me to the gym every morning, and they come home in the evening, and it's hard for all of us. But it'll be worth it. And in 4 or 5 weeks time, we can, go back to being a bit more normal.
Fantastic. We have a question here for Diego from Diego C. Palace. Thank you for your question, Diego C. Palace. He says, who is your least favorite UFC women's strawweight, and how would you match up to that strawweight?
My least favorite strawweight?
Yeah. And how would you match up if it was to
oh man, that's a hard question, because I can't even think of ones that I don't like, to be honest. Anybody that's
all right, let's go with the one that you do like.
Yeah, look, I watch the strawweight division, obviously, because it's my division. I keep a particularly close eye on it. And to be honest, like anybody that's gotten to that level, anyone that's gotten to that UFC level, like they've got something special in them. And you asked me a similar question in our last interview, and I mentioned Cheyenne Flismus, purely because he has South African roots, and I see a lot of similarity in my like fight style as what she has. Like she's a brawler. She likes to get in close and is quite dirty with her fighting. So I would be interested to see a matchup like that, or even with Jessica Andrade. Like she fought recently. She's also got quite a brawler kind of get in close and personal kind of style about her, and I think I enjoy watching her because she's short like me, and she really has to make a big effort to close the distance. Trying to think who else comes to mind now. I think anybody that I'm trying to think of her name now. I think she's Scottish. She's the smallest UFC fighter. She's the shortest. I think her surname is Kenna.
Corey McKenna?
Oh, yeah, that's it. So McKenna, that's it. So I think she's obviously got that jiu-jitsu background, but again, she's sorry, I know I'm we having this chat in the gym, and I can hear whoever's hitting pads outside.
It's all right. Don't worry. Do not worry about it. Now we know he's busy in the gym. We know how active he is over there. So yeah, please.
I feel like they've gotten louder because they know that I'm doing it. Yeah, so I think with Corey McKenna, like she's small, she's short, you can see that she doesn't cut a lot of weight, she's a tiny person. So to watch somebody like that stand in her own 2 feet in the UFC space and dominate is inspirational for me. So that would be another fight that I would one day love to have, just because I see similarities in our styles and our approach. But yeah, I can't hate on any woman that's made it to the UFC. It's hard for me to hate on them and tell you that, you know, they're my least favorite. I respect all of them.
I know that's in your personality, but we had to ask the question because it was a fan question. And thank you, Diego, for that question there, and thank you for giving us such a gracious answer. The states and the progress of women's MMA right now is moving at such a rapid rate. How soon do you think till you start seeing women headlining and making big cards and making big purses as well, like the likes of, say, Conor McGregor or even Israel Adesanya, the sort of money that those guys are making? How long, what sort of time scale do you give it till like women at that level starts to see that kind of purse?
Yeah, it's an interesting one with women because it's not like it hasn't been done. In Ronda Rousey's era, you know, when she was fighting, she was making more money than anybody else.
Yeah.
That was like at the John Jones era around there. And then obviously Conor McGregor came on the scene and things changed. And what Ronda did with not necessarily her fight acumen, but with her personality, is she got people's attention. You know, you love to hate her. You knew that she had this kind of bratty bad boy, so to speak, persona, but you also kind of saw another side to her where you weren't 100% sure if that was all she had. She had a sweet side too and a big heart. So I think the big money's been made, and Ronda's come and she's done that, and she's changed like the trajectory for women and paved the way. But I think it'll be some time before the bulk of women are getting that attention and making that kind of money, because there's so much more at play for us. I think the masses want to watch female fighters who are exciting, but they also want to watch female fighters who are easy on the eyes. So, you know, Ronda was blonde and beautiful, and so she didn't look like your average fighter on first glance. So with women, I feel like there's layers, it's nuanced because we're looking at other things as well. Whereas with a male fighter, I don't think that that's necessarily. You can be a good fighter and have a great personality that gets attention. You don't necessarily have to be good looking. But I feel like a lot of women are getting ahead in the fight space if they have good looks, and so if they're deemed marketable. So they would be deemed marketable based on either a fiery personality or on good looks, if that makes sense. Like you either have something, you want to be 100%. A good fighter. So I don't know what the timeline is. I think from an earning potential, I can't tell you what that timeline is, but from just getting women into the sport, and you know, it's very difficult to get to watch a UFC card now and not have females on the card, which is great. There was a time when, you know, it was where you would have 1 or 2 fights on the card and that was it. But now we're having 5, 6 fights on a card. Women are obviously headlining when it's title fights. So it's there, you know, it's just it's close, but obviously we've still got a journey to walk, and it's because there's always going to be a level of sexuality attached to female fighters. I think that's kind of the thing that's either going to put you forward or hold you back. Will be dependent on how willing you are to maybe work that side of things, and for every woman that's going to be different.
100% got you. Recently we see your gym, some of the posts that you've made. You know, your gym is going from strength to strength. You know, you even put out recently, you know, you LGBTQ friendly, everybody is inclusive. How is that going for the gym now? PSA, people go and check it out as well. PFSA, go check it out. Yeah, excuse me, PFA. Go check them out on Instagram. We're going to put their description in the links as well. Go and check them out. Go look at what they're doing over there. Fantastic gym. They're always busy over there. Everybody's always grinding. They're working hard. But how is that going, and how is that moving from strength to strength over the last time that, you know, we spoke together?
Yeah, it's been busy. I think what's been exciting has been the growing fight team. So we've always had a really big commercial gym, and it's often felt like we had to almost decide if we wanted to be a commercial gym or if we wanted to be a fight gym. It was difficult to be both at the same time. And just historically, I think combat sports, specifically jiu-jitsu in South Africa, is quite a privileged sport. You know, if you go to Brazil, everyone's doing jiu-jitsu. A gi isn't a barrier to entry, whereas here in South Africa, you know, to afford a 3,000 rand gi, it means that not everyone is doing it, which means that jiu-jitsu on its own is privileged. It's like a middle-aged white man sport because of the barriers to entry, right?
Gotcha.
So I think what we've tried to do is keep our price point from a membership perspective as low as we possibly can, so we haven't really had increases. And because of that, we've attracted a bigger crowd of commercial goers from a boxing perspective, from a Muay Thai perspective, from a jiu-jitsu perspective. So to get that post that surprised me the other day, which was the LGBT one, it was a real like pat on our backs to know that, okay, cool, not only are we inclusive from a race and gender perspective, but we're also attracting that LGBT community who I think, to speak candidly and frankly, because the gym is quite a masculine energy space, you would expect a fair amount of gay women to train in a space like this, but you wouldn't necessarily expect gay men to feel comfortable in such a hyper masculine space. And we have members, you know, both male and female, who train here who feel very comfortable and are gay. So that it's been a great testament to just see that we're moving into a space where everyone feels comfortable in the space, regardless of their sexual orientation, their race, their religion, their gender. But then second to that, having our fight team grow in the last year the way it has been, it's been great. And I think it's been one of the things that has kept bringing members through the door, because you know, you get to see a gym that's active and competing and grinding, like you said, and you want a piece of that. You want to be part of that success. So we've become a bit of an attraction over the last year because of the amount of successful fighters that we've been having in the gym.
It's great to see. I follow your gym as well as well as yourself, and we're always doing what we can on the FightWeek Show to promote you guys and put you guys out there to people that follow us. So keep it up, keep doing what you're doing. It's fantastic to see. One thing we did obviously see again on the gym's Instagram is Dricus Du Plessis pulling up and coming to show love to the gym, and we saw you ragdolling Dricus. How was that whole experience like? What was that like for everybody at the gym? What was that like for yourself?
You know, the guys went crazy. I think you forget how many super fans he actually has, because to us, like, because he started out in the EFC, he's just Dricus. Do you know what I mean? He's not a soon-to-be number 4 ranked UFC fighter. He's just Dricus, and it's great that he's such a great guy and such a humble guy that even though he is where he is in terms of his MMA career, he really makes time to, when he does visit another city, to go to a few gyms, and he takes time and he puts a smile on his face and takes photos with every single person that asks. So yeah, just a genuine great guy. And I've become quite close to him in terms of seeing a lot of similarities in our careers. Obviously, he's made it to the UFC, and that's not where I am. But in terms of, I see a lot of similarities in our awkward striking style. I see a lot of similarities in terms of our brazen personality to just take any fight. I chatted to him the other day, and I was like, have you ever said no to a fight? And he's like, no, not once. Not one time was a fight put in front of me and I said no. And I don't know if we spoke about this in our last chat or if we weren't there yet, but this title fight with Alice was not necessarily my first choice. Because on paper, she's 3 times more experienced than me. She's had titles in other organizations. So experience-wise, we're not a good match. But the girls who are in my division who would be better matches were all saying no to fights. So this was a fight that EFC gave me, and I was like, cool, I don't say no to a fight, I'll take it. I think I would prefer not to fight for a belt after 2 pro fights. I would have preferred to have had another fight or 2 to get that experience. This is the fight that's been put in front of me. And so again, with Dricus and I having that conversation, he was like, look, he's exactly the same. People might be dodging him, but he's never dodged anyone. And so I like that. I can see similarities in how we approach fights.
It's fantastic. I mean, Dricus is a friend of the show. He's been on our show before, just before he fought Darren Till, and he did come on with Cameron Simon, MSP, and another great guy. That they both give us time. The personality that you described right there about them is exactly what they are. Once you get to know them, once you interact with them, they give you all the time in the world. Fantastic people. And in terms of you accepting the fight that they put in front of you, especially in this one here, with the amount of experience that you have compared to your opponent, I mean, it puts the pressure on them. There's no pressure on you, and it's a great way to actually look at it. But I believe when the time is right, you're just gonna go in there and do what you do, and may the best woman win. The thing that I wanted to ask you next is, just before we get you out of here, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. We've seen a couple of, say, YouTubers sign for big promotion. Logan Paul was announced yesterday signing for the UFC. Jake Paul was announced signing for PFL. How does that make you guys feel? Not you in particular, but people like in similar circumstances that fighting so hard, legit MMA fighters that's been through the trenches, that's been through the grind, and trying to aspire to get into one of these big promotions. And we just see these guys just pulling up and signing for these big promotions.
I think it speaks to a little bit about what I was saying earlier when I was talking about women and sexuality perhaps, or women and what they bring to the table. It's very much the same thing. I think promotions are looking for marketability. Promotions are looking to sell tickets. Everybody wants to see the Pauls get knocked out, right? That's why we tune in to PFL. That's why we're going to watch UFC. We want to see somebody get slept, because we kind of love to hate them. And they're okay with that, because either way, if we love them or we hate them, they get paid at the end of the day. So I think they've figured something out that a lot of other guys haven't. So you can cry and say it's unfair, but there's a time and place, obviously, for skill and honing your skill. We're living in a world where your brand is very important right now to get noticed. And building that brand and having a following and being able to bring something else to the table is important. Do I love them? No. Like, do I think that they have the right to be there? It's difficult to hate on them, because they've clearly got something. They've gotten big organizations' attention because of what they've done. And because it's now quite a saturated sport, it's actually not that easy to get a promoter's attention anymore. You've got to be with the right agent. You've got to have the right social media following. You've got to be winning your fights with crazy knockouts so that you can get bonuses. You need to have multiple belts in different organizations, because it's such a saturated pool right now to get into. So anybody that's figured out an edge and a shortcut, I've got respect for, because they've figured something out. It does. When you're at the bottom and you're looking up, and that's your goal, is you want to be a UFC champion, and you're all the way at the bottom, and you feel like somebody else has been pushed, in front of you. I get that it can be frustrating, but you can sit and cry about it, or you can go work harder and figure out how you're going to get your shortcut.
What a outlook, what a way to look at things. And thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for pulling up again, and hopefully very, very soon, maybe after your fight, we can invite you again to come back on the platform and share some of your experience, and some of your thoughts on the fight and stuff like that. So we're gonna be talking to you. We're gonna stay in contact as we always do. And is there anything that you want to promote, some of your new endeavors, some of your new business ideas, or your coaches, things that people that you want to thank for help you in this camp as well?
Yeah, thank you. I think, big thanks from me to you guys always for being such big supporters and for making the time to do this kind of stuff, because it helps to build my brand, obviously, and to get the fight news out there. And as always, I'm just forever indebted to my coaching team and to my training partners. They push me so hard, and yeah, I've got these 2 black eyes today because of my hard work. And the reality is that the saying of training hard and fighting easy has been true for me so far. Is I'm in the trenches with an amazing team every day. So big thank you to them. Yeah, and come March the 2nd, hopefully we'll be raising our hand with a shiny belt, and I'll bring that back onto the show for the next one.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Jess. You are always a good sport. You're always good for us. You always make time for us, and we really appreciate your time. Thank you so much for pulling up today, man. And people, up onto the next video. Hasta la vista, people. We're out.
Hey guys, this is John Anik from the UFC. You're watching the Fight Week Show. Please subscribe. Not now, but right now. Subscribe to the Fight Week Show. We'll see you guys on the road soon.